Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. And in fact, I remember 5, 6 years back when IMI, PCI, and FCC team was planning JFF. And when it's shaping up really well, it looks like ये पूरा Geo Convention Center भी कम पड़ रहा है. So this is really nice and more power to all of you. Let's have a great applause, claps for all of us first for being here. Thank you. And great to be here, sir. So, building a digital bank within a bank is such an interesting topic. And in last 2 to 3 years, every fintech has one desire, and that desire is to become a digital bank. So, before I get into specific questions, sir, my first question to you is, which app do you use?
I use YONO. You
How's-
only need one.
And how's your experience? How's SBI YONO app?
It's exceptional, I must say that. I think it's very unique in its nature. It's pure play banking. It has got a financial superstore and it has got e-commerce. It's a blend of 3 into 1. So that is something which is a very unique feature of this app. And I think it's improving day by day in terms of the range of products and services which it actually carries with it. Thank you.
Okay, sure, sir. So let me begin by asking you, give us an introduction in terms of the data points of the dashboard of SBI YONO. How many customers do come on SBI YONO regularly? What exactly SBI does when it's opening an account on a daily basis? How many loan do you disburse? So just give me a current state of SBI YONO in terms of numbers, sir.
Yeah, I must mention that YONO in its current form has got 3 broad components. One is YONO Retail, and that is something which we started with. And if we look at our total registrations there, it would be somewhere around 6.5 crore people have already registered. Almost about 1 crore people are actually coming on to this on a daily basis. On a daily basis, we are seeing registrations which are almost in the range of 35 to 50,000 in a day. When it comes to number of accounts which are opening on a daily basis, there are about 34,000, 35,000 accounts are getting opened on a daily basis, and they are the savings bank accounts. If I may say so, almost 65% of the new accounts which are opening on a daily basis, they are getting opened through YONO. And we have got the plus advantage that we have got the eKYC also possible on this YONO. And if we look at the number of remittance transactions, more than 500,000 remittance transactions are happening on a daily basis with the help of YONO. And when we also, the other component of YONO which I must introduce is essentially in terms of YONO Krishi, YONO Rural. And YONO Rural, there is a very clear reflection in terms of how do we leverage YONO for offering the KCC renewal facility to our customers. Almost about 55 to 60% of our renewals are happening with the help of YONO. YONO Rural actually goes beyond in terms of it helps us in sourcing the agri gold loans. We are giving in principal approvals for the agri gold loans. So, and similarly, when it comes to in the retail segment for home loan or the mortgage loans, we are giving in principal approval. For car loans, we are giving in principal approvals. In addition to that, we have got a product which we call it a pre-approved personal loan. It is end-to-end digital, and now we have started evaluating YONO in terms of number of clicks required for completing the transaction. So that is something which you are doing. So this is something which is more or less in terms of YONO Retail and YONO Agri. We introduce YONO Business also, where import LCs, export LCs, they're all getting opened through YONO Business. We introduce another product which we call it a pre-approved business loan, which is nothing but those who are keeping a current account with us, we look into their transactions, and based upon that, we give them the pre-approved business loans. So that also, it started about 6 months back, and we are seeing excellent transactions, almost about 600 to 700 crore worth of pre-approved business loans are getting disbursed every month with the help of this pre-approved business loan. So then comes the Global. We have got presence across 30 countries, and wherever at about 10 centers we have introduced Global, which is essentially because in the overseas locations we cannot have as strong footprint as we have in India, and the Indian diaspora is spread all across in these geographies. And to really address their financial needs, we are in a position to offer Global, and it is helping in opening of account before they land in those geographies. And apart from that, once they land in those geographies, we offer them the remittance transactions. They can keep their deposit accounts with us, and in some places we are offering some loan facilities too. So even there also we are seeing that it is actually creating significant value.
Right.
So it's a bank by itself. Absolutely. In many respects.
Right. So it's a massive scale. In fact, that's an Indian market as well. But looking at 30 to 35,000 accounts that you're opening on a everyday basis, is it only because of you are SBI first and SBI later? And that is one part. And second part is, sir, what does it take for a digital bank to integrate with a traditional bank? Because ultimately the back end is all SBI.
Yeah, I fully understand what does it mean, because having lived through this journey myself, perhaps I can very well resonate with what you are saying. Well, of course, a bank which is 217 years young
Yes.
has always tried to remain relevant for the customer segments whom we serve. And with that in mind, this particular project was embarked upon in the year 2017. And also, what really went into this, actually, for first and foremost, is to understand the customer's aspiration. And once we understood the customer aspirations, we could visualize that perhaps the way we can win the customer is to offer the convenience and also reliability. These are the two very important features which must be there. And to really address that, we started building up this whole and this was actually, it involves envisaging the journey end to end. Because, when you are moving from, say, you want to offer a digital experience, then perhaps you cannot have the physical journeys. And that is why, first of all, we had thought in terms of what should be the digital journey. And then, depending upon the products and the features which we wanted to offer, or the richness of the app, we had to then scale up in terms of the hardwares and who should be the integrator for this particular app, because there were multiple small things which are required to be developed, and then they were to be integrated. Then for the first time ever, perhaps we introduced the concept of garage, which involved the business and the IT. They were all put together, and also it helped us in taking the decisions faster, and also the experience of the business and the technology was very, very important when it came to the development of the app. And of course, needless to mention, the security aspect is a very, very critical component. So right from the very beginning, we had three components, three very broad pillars. One is business, the second is IT, and third is the information security. So they all had to work together, and they had to appreciate each other's viewpoint, and so that we can come out with something which is unique and also of significant value. While I talk about this, I must also mention that we have got the bouquet of our subsidiaries, which offers the financial products beyond the banking, right from the credit card to mutual fund to life insurance to general insurance to NPS, which is. So essentially we could visualize that, the customer centricity suggested us that, the kind of customers who will be coming and using these app, they would be actually consuming all these services too. And as you are aware that when it comes to mutual fund and when it comes to life insurance, these are the products which are sold, they are not bought. So that's why we are very mindful in terms of the mis-selling, etc. also. And we introduce only the commoditized product which we can roll out through our app. So that is something which you have seen that it has helped us in generating a decent traction. And happy to share with you that almost now we have come to a stage where in a quarter we have started earning about 100 crore worth of fee income only through YONO by offering the services of all these products. And of course, it has enhanced the customer experience who are consuming these services using YONO.
So just to cross question and understand, 100 crore on a monthly basis, obviously not, a yearly.
Quarterly basis,
Quarterly
it
basis.
is a, I would say that, as I mentioned, that
Right.
it is not a complete bouquet, but it is only commoditized products and services which are being rolled out from the subsidiary companies. This only 100 crore is only from the commission or the fee income which you earn through the subsidiaries only by rolling out their products from this app. And otherwise, if we really look at it, in the first year we had come out, about 2 years back, we had come out with a pre-approved personal loan which was almost about 21,000 crore.
Wow.
And in a year we had done that. So last year also we had almost similar number. We expect that pre-approved personal loan is a very well established product on YONO, and we don't need to worry much about it. Now that's the reason why we have added this new line which is pre-approved business loan, almost about 600 crore being dispensed every month using YONO. So which means that another 7 to 8,000 crore we will be in a position to dispense through YONO. About 29,000 to 30,000 crore worth of book we can easily build through YONO. Apart from that, in principal approvals in home loan, in principal approval in car loan, KCC, etc. So it's a huge value accretive app which we have.
Oh, quite meaningful. Imagine 100 crore, only fees income a quarter. That's the size of, a app. We are living in a VUCA world, right, where the Gen Z and millennials also specifically wants to do anything and everything in app. By any chance, have you segregated the data in terms of the 35,000 customers that are coming to your app on a daily basis are coming specifically because of its YONO and offering a bouquet of services and perhaps would not have gone to the branches? Have you looked at that? Because that will determine, the future of YONO.
Say, I'll give you one data point. For a bank like us with 22,400 odd branches, we have got a situation where 84% of our transactions are digitized. So those digital transactions, that actually gives you a complexion in terms of what is, how the transactions are carried out and what is the preference. Incidentally, I carried out a analysis in terms of who are the people who are enrolling themselves for YONO, and could figure out that almost 33% of the customers are coming from the semi-urban space.
Okay, that's interesting.
So I think that is nothing but a reflection of how this new India is evolving and how the technology is being adopted by people across the country, irrespective of the geographies where they are. I must also mention that there are many ills of COVID, but one blessing of COVID was that adoption of the digital or the e-commerce. So I think that is something which became a reality, and now people are not willing to go back from what they started experiencing. It is the convenience. They have the benefit of the convenience. So I think that is one of the major game changer, and also the way this digital or the e-commerce has changed the lifestyle of people. That is something which I believe is a permanent change in the behavior of customers. So I think that also gives us fair amount of idea in terms of how customers want to operate. So this is what you mentioned in terms of VUCA. Yes, of course. In the VUCA world, everybody wants real time, and we are in a position to offer the real time services because convenience of operating from the wherever they are, and also they can consume all the services beyond banking also. That is something which you are experiencing.
Right. Absolutely, sir. So the question today is specifically, I mean, you are a different world altogether when it comes to the banking. But a lot of fintech companies started as a fintech, as a neobank, as a digital bank, but there is no clarity in terms of the policies because RBI will not recognize them as an individual digital bank or a neobank. So how do you see this space? If somebody is not a digital bank owned by a bank like you, do you see a scope for those platforms also to grow as big as you? Do you see that demand and the market in India right now?
The way I look at this kind of a situation is that today, of course, financial sector is very tightly regulated sector. That being said that, uh, the session before us was also relating to compliances
Yes.
and it's also fintech. So while listening to them, I could very well resonate with their their thinking process. And I think today, for a bank like us, we have multiple problem statements. And we have a very evolved cadre which we have created within the bank, which is helping us in meeting our digital ambition and aspirations. But at the same time, because we are consuming a lot of services from the fintechs, we have problem statements which we would like to solve as on yesterday. And for that, perhaps we are looking for all kind of solutions. For a bank like us, we have come out with innovation factories or maybe innovation department who is actually engaging with all these fintechs and are seeking solutions. We keep on running various hackathons, and the idea is that if at all we can find solutions to our problem at a very fast pace. What you mentioned in terms of, you know, how do I see evolving all these things? I think the way forward is the way for collaboration with maybe the leading banks will collaborate with fintechs.
Right.
And increasingly, there would be a situation where banks will move, as I mentioned, that now we have started looking at how many clicks for offering the service. So that becomes one of the parameter. So I think eventually it is leading, and also when I talked about, you know, we have got, you know, retail, you know, rural, you know, agri and all, you know, global and,
Right.
and, you know, awareness. So these are the broad pillars which will eventually get integrated. And we will be the way, actually now we are working on our next generation of YONO, which is YONO 2.0. We call it only YONO.
Right.
And that is essentially we are trying to bring in the CRM layer, we are trying to bring in the AI layer, and based upon that, we are trying to offer the next best solution to our customers.
Right.
So we'll be bringing in the MarTech, and based upon that, we should be in a position to visualize the ability to offer the customer before he even thinks what he needs. So that is what our effort is. We are trying to improve the look and feel. So I think this is the way we are developing, and this is in a way is becoming a bank by itself.
Absolutely.
So it is it's a digital bank within the legacy bank.
Right.
So I think this is going to be the way forward, and what we have seen across the globe. Normally, digital banks operate in a very limited kind of an activity, but I think the kind of activities which I have just described, it goes beyond what they offer.
Right.
So
Right.
that's how things are going to be.
No, sure, sure. Quite meaningful, sir. On way forward, I will again come back to you. But since I was talking about the industry, obviously we all understand that you're 270 years young, you know, app. And, you know, it's growing young every day. But there are a lot of young fintechs, perhaps younger than the YONO. And given your expertise and the experience, what would you like to advise them? One is the collaboration and looking at the problem, you know, that they need to identify is what you said. But anything specific that you think they should follow now? Because, you know, many of them initially followed the only value, creating a value, not the profitability. Now the funding winter is there. So they are also going through different challenges. And SBI is one of the largest bank which has hundreds of partnerships with fintechs and, you know, collaborations there. So what would you like to advise to the young kids?
No, of course, one of course is the customer centricity is something which is very important, and also their ability to offer solutions, and also the reliability part. See, the point is that when you work with any financial institution or a bank, your ability to scale up is going to determine your acceptability with the entity concerned, unless and until you are able to scale, because solutions, if not scalable, perhaps cannot be adopted by any bank, because we have invariably seen that excellent solutions being conceptualized, but their ability to scale up is not there. So I think that is one aspect which I would like to mention. And second, of course, what was mentioned in terms of burning the capital, but I think rightly mentioned that it's a funding winter. But nevertheless, so long as the burning the capital is for the productive purpose, I think it's good. But for the unproductive purpose, one should avoid. Because eventually that productive purpose will yield you the returns someday or the other. That's how I look at it.
Sure, but quickly, are you open to adopt, acquire new fintechs at SBI?
No, we are very much working with them. As far as acquisition is concerned, of course, we have to operate within the boundary conditions. There are some stipulations in the Banking Regulation Act, which talk about we can acquire only the banking companies. That is one of the challenge which we have. But nevertheless, all these things can still be worked out with the changing complexion. Maybe we can reach out to the regulators also. That's not a challenge. But as of now, we are very happy to work with all the fintechs and to have solution for our problem statement as on yesterday.
Right.
So that is what I think demand is in terms of pacing the time.
Right.
Demand is in terms of scaling up the solution. That's what I look at it.
No, sure. I hope most of the fintechs heard what Khara sir said. SBI also has a pavilion downstairs, so maybe you can go and pitch your ideas there. Last two questions, sir. Specifically on the SBI YONO. We discussed in detail about your plans about how SBI YONO is doing. You showcased a dashboard. But what next? The former chairman had said the value of SBI YONO is around $40 to $50 billion, which is highest even the large cap companies, operating in India. What next for SBI? At any point of time, do you think that SBI will try to encash the value of SBI? Will you try to list as an individual entity of SBI? Or how will you see that growing maybe in next 3-4 years?
I would say that I would like to leverage YONO for creating value for our stakeholders. Stakeholders are customers, stakeholders are employees, stakeholders are the shareholders. And the way I look at it, it is a distribution platform for us. And being a distribution platform, I probably cannot think in terms of spinning it off. But yes, of course, I will fully sweat it so that we create exceptional value for all our stakeholders.
Okay, sure. So last one important question, because I can't let you go without taking your view on the credit growth specifically. Looking at the economic situation where the inflation is specifically on the fire, though RBI has put a pause button, there are high chances that the situation may change very soon. How do you see the credit growth right now? Are you seeing the demand specifically from the large corporates? Are you still signing the big checks? How is the current situation, sir?
No, there is a very clear visibility of the demand from the large corporates, because when it comes to adding capacity, we are seeing that in some of the sectors, there is a very clear demand. And I would actually, the way I look at it, I'll just describe it this way, that when it comes to the retail demand, there is a huge demand. When it comes to infrastructure, there is no dearth of the efforts which are being put in and the investment which has been put in for the infrastructure. When it comes to the new levers of growth, like the renewables, the EVs and the batteries, they are the new levers of growth in the economy. So I think, having said that, and when it comes to the customer demand, it is leading to the white goods demand. So I think, looking at all this, it's a very clear reflection that the economy is booming, and the kind of growth rate which we have seen in the first quarter. Yes, of course, there are certain concerns as of now in terms of the inflation, which is essentially attributed to um, the trend as far as the rainy season was concerned. But I would say that these appears to be the blips, and they need not be read as trend. So so in this overall context, I would say that economy has got orientation towards the domestic economy, and domestic economy has got all the full levers of growth. So with that in mind, I think there is no dearth of demand. As far as the projects are being appraised by us, being sanctioned, disbursement invariably takes time. So this is the kind of a trend which I am seeing on the ground.
Sure, sir. That was really relevant, and thanks for sharing that.